back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Fumi, and on this channel I post sewing tutorials, DIYs, thrift flips, and all that fun stuff. So if you're interested in learning to sew, or you're always on the lookout to find new sewing projects to embark on, then this is the right place for you. Don't forget to subscribe if that describes you. So for this video, I'm so excited. I saw this cute shirt on Pinterest. I'm not even exaggerating. I've had this saved on my Pinterest for so long. I have no idea who the actual original designer is, because every time I try to search up the image, it just leads me to Shein or Temu. So unfortunately, I don't know who the original designer is, but I just love the back with the slits and the bows. That was what got me hooked, and I decided to recreate this shirt. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I draft the pattern for the shirt. I'm wearing it right now actually. So I'm going to share with you how I drafted the pattern, and then I will upload another video next week where I actually show you the sewing process. I didn't do it all as one just because it was too long, and that would have just been much more of a hassle to upload. And I don't know, I feel like every time I upload a longer video, people don't really seem to be interested in those. Let me know in the comments if I'm right by that assumption or not, but this is just going off of what I've seen so far. So I thought it might be more helpful if I upload the pattern drafting tutorial, which is this one, and then the actual sewing tutorial next week. So yeah, so I'm really excited. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed the process of making the shirt, and I absolutely love it. I can't wait for it to be nice outside so I can actually wear it out. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section. If you have any questions or anything at all, please let me know as well. For this project, I would say it's more intermediate level, but if you're an ambitious beginner, I think you can try. Just maybe look at the video, see if it's something you'd like to attempt, and then yeah. All right, so I'll see you at the end of the video. Bye. Our fabric, we're going to create our pattern. I'm super excited for this video. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is to create the buttonhole allowance, which is going to be 2.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 2.5 inches all the way from the top to the bottom. Once we've done that, next thing we're going to do is to make the neck hole, and in terms of width, I'm going for 2.5 inches, and then in terms of depth, I'm going for 3 inches. And then next we're going to mark our shoulder width. For this, if you're going for a more fitted top, then you can use your actual shoulder to shoulder measurement. For me, I want a more slouchy shoulder, which is a case where the shoulder seam, that seam where the sleeve meets the shoulder, would droop a little bit more, so that won't be sitting exactly on my shoulder, because I'm going for a more oversized look in general for this shirt. So if you want something more fitted, then you definitely want to use your actual shoulder to shoulder measurement, and then divide that by 2, and then that is what you would mark here. For me, if I was using that, I would have used 7, but since I'm going for a more oversized look and a slouchy shoulder, I'm actually going to use 11.5. And before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and create the curve for my neck hole. So if you have a French curve, you can definitely use that. For me, I'm just freehanding a curved line right at that sharp corner. So this is what I have. And now on that shoulder seam, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. And I'm going to connect that point to the corner of my neckline. Now next up, I'm going to mark my horizontal lines, and for my shirt, the only horizontal lines I have are the bottom of the armhole and then the hem of my top. If you're doing a more fitted top, you're going to most likely have that bottom of the armhole, which would also serve as like your chest area, and then you probably have the waist, the upper hip, and then the hem. So on each of these horizontal measurements, you would take the circumference of those parts and you would use those. But like I said, I'm going for a baggy, oversized look, so this is not going to be fitted, this is not going to be hugging my body in any kind of way. So I'm just going to go ahead and identify where my armhole ends first of all. And I usually get armhole measurements from bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. I think I'm going to maybe add an extra half an inch just because, like I said, oversized shirts. So yeah, so I basically started from this point and I marked my armhole measurement. I ended up adding just half an inch, so I marked my armhole measurement and then I extended that line. So now we have that sort of L shape at the armhole area. So next up, I'm going to go ahead and measure the length of my shirt. So this depends on you, how long or short you want your shirt to be. If you're going for a more cropped look, if you're going for a more, I don't know. So this completely depends on you. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out the length that I measured. Next, I'm just going to take all of the, I'm just going to take the width of my shirt. So starting from this line, of course, I'm going to mark what the circumference of my shirt is going to be. For the armhole, I think I'm going to try to create 2 curves or 2 variations of the curve. One of them is going to be for the front piece, which is this one because it has the buttonhole thingy, and then the other one is going to be for the back. The armhole for the front typically would come in into this area a bit more, but for the back it just like it would mostly be straight. So we're going to create the one for the back first of all. And so for that one, I'm just going to, from what I have here on my armhole, I'm just going to create a curve at this sharp corner here, just like this, and that is basically it. But for the front, we're going to come up here by 1.5 inches, and then we're going to measure what we have from that point that we just came up by, measure the full thing here and divide that by 2. So for me, I have just under 10 inches. So wait, for me, yeah, I have 10.1 inches. So I'm going to mark my midpoint at just a little over 5 inches. Now after marking that midpoint, at that point I'm going to come in by just an inch, and I'm going to connect this point to the corner of my armhole just with a slanted line, and then I'm going to create the curve that connects with the rest of the armhole from the bottom of it. And that is the armhole for the front. I really love those curved hems that a lot of button down shirts have, so I'm going to go ahead and create that for my shirt as well. And all I'm simply doing is coming to this corner right here, the bottom corner, the outer one, not where we have the buttons, and I'm going to go up by 2.5 inches. So going up by 2.5 inches from the hemline. I just marked that, and then I'm actually just going to freehand the curve. And that's kind of what we have. And with that, the pattern for the front of our shirt is done. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. But I just wanted to also show you how I'm cutting this area. So I'm just coming up a bit, say by approximately 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to cut that like that, and then I'm going to go down this line and just follow the line that we've created so far. And then for the armhole, I'm going to cut the line that we marked for the back, because the front is a bit more, it's deeper. So I'm going to cut the back first of all, and then use that when we're creating the back pattern, and then I would cut the excess to create that front armhole. I hope you get what I mean. And with that, our front pattern piece is done. So here's the sleeve or the armhole. This is what I was talking about. So I followed the line that we created for the back. So when I use this as sort of like a stencil to transfer onto the pattern paper for the back, then I would come back and carve out this excess here, so we can have the armhole that we drafted for the front of our shirt. Right, so I have my paper down, and this is for the back pieces. Now for my shirt, I'm going to have an open slit down the back of down the center back, and it's going to be held together by cute bows. So I'm going to leave a 1 inch allowance all the way here from top to bottom. Now that I've done that, I'm going to take my back piece, and as you can see, I folded away my buttonhole allowance, like the button and buttonhole allowance that I have at the center front, because we don't have buttons on the back, although we have the slits. So now I'm just going to align my pattern with the line that we just created. Just make sure it is aligned. I'm just going to weigh it down. All right. Okay, now remember that I said the armhole for the front and the armhole for the back are different. So what we initially cut for this front piece is what the back armhole is supposed to look like. So I'm going to sort of trace that armhole, and then I'm also going to extend it upwards by 1/2 inch. Now having done that, so as you can see, my line just extends upwards by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to mark from that 1/2 inch point all the way to this point right here. So that basically the depth that I have of the armhole, I'm going to take that and I'm going to make sure that I have the same thing here. And an easy way to do that would just be to mark to measure from the top of the paper all the way from the top to that bottom, and I have 10.5 inches, so I'm just going to mark 10.5 inches here. So marking that point, and then I'm going to come back here and measure from the bottom all the way to where that 1/2 inch extension is, which for me is about 9 inches. So then from that 10.5 inch mark, I'm going to come up by 9 inches. So like that. So I just marked that point here, the same way we have it. So this is the same length with that. And so I'm going to connect these 2 points together with a straight line. I'm just going to slightly move this out of the way and connect these 2 points together. And I did this because for this shirt, I'm going to have a yoke at the upper back just before we have that open slit down the center back. So this is sort of the process for if you're going to make a yoke for your shirts. So having done that, I'm just going to slide this back into place like this, because aside from this straight line that we have here, and the armhole, the rest of the body, the hem, are going to be cut exactly the same way we have it on the front. So with this in place, I'm just going to go ahead and cut following the pattern that we used for the front. So like I said before, now that we've used the front piece to cut the back, this is what we have for the back, by the way. So now that we have our back pattern piece, I can move that out of the way, and then I'm actually going to come in and create the actual armhole that we're using for the front. All right, so for our yoke, I have my paper here, and first of all, I'm just going to create a straight line that we can sort of use. And then I'm going to measure my shoulder width. So this of course is not adding in that allowance for the center back. So yeah, I have 11.5. So standard length for a yoke is about 6 inches. So I'm going to measure out 6 inches from this line. So now we have sort of like a square area where we're working with. Now, remember that for our neck, when we're doing the front, the width for the neck that we used was 2.5 inches. So I'm going to transfer that here. So we have our 2.5. And then at the end of the shoulder, we're going to also mark for the shoulder slope. And we're going to mark 2 inches here. So 2 inches for the shoulder slope. We're also going to mark the same 2 inches that we have here. We're also going to mark it here and connect both points with a line. Before then going ahead to make the slanted line for our shoulder slope, so connecting the corner of the shoulder slope to the corner of the neckline. And then next up, remember that we have 2.5 inches here. We're going to add an extra inch, so we're going to go in. We're going to go in by an extra inch. So I just marked that on the slanted line, and now this is the point from where we're going to create the curve for the neckline. So from that point, I'm just going to freehand a curve. And so this is the neckline that we have. So that is the neckline, that is the new shoulder slope. And we want to make sure now, at this point, we want to make sure that the length that we have on the shoulder slope matches what we have on our front pattern piece. So you're going to take your front piece, and then you're going to measure what you have from the corner of the neckline all the way to the end of the shoulder slope. So for me, I have 9¼ inches. So I'm going to come here and measure 9¼ inches from this corner right here. And so you can see that it is longer than what I have. Like what I have is not up to that. So I'm going to mark that new point. So after marking it on this point, I'm just going to extend this line to reach that. And then I'm going to come down by 2 inches. So this is going to be, you can see how I'm angling my measuring tape, right? So reaching this line right here. So I'm just going to connect that. So just 2 inches from there to that line, connect that, and then this is what we have. So now we have our yoke. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut this out. And now we have our yoke, we have our back piece, and we also have our front piece. The first thing that you want to do is to measure what you have around the neckline. And so I have just a little over 18.5, just right there. I'm just going to create a pattern and then use that to cut the actual fabric. So this is what we have. I have my paper prepped here and everything ready to go. So all right, so this edge right here is going to serve as my center back. So when I'm transferring this onto my fabric, this would be on a fold, and then this red line that you can see here, I would just use that as sort of like my starting line. And so first thing I'm going to do, that round neck measurements that I took, I'm going to divide that by 2, and then I'm going to start at this point, and then I'm going to mark that. I'm also going to mark the midpoint from this point to this point. So whatever you have here, you find the midpoint and you mark that. So for me, that would be, I'm just going to fold this in half. And then we're starting off with the base of the stand of the collar, and then coming here, starting from our center back, I'm going to measure 1 inch. If you want yours to be higher, then you can, I think you can go for like maybe 1.5 inches, but I'm just doing an average looking collar. So, and then I'm going to mark that all the way to this middle point right here, and then I'm going to come to the end, and I'm going to go up by 3/4 of an inch. So right at the end of the collar here. just going to do that. And then now, if you have a French curve, it would really come in handy at this point, and I really do recommend. I don't know why I haven't gotten mine yet, but we're not talking about me today. I'm going to have to freehand this, but basically you take your French curve and you use a curved line to connect this point to this point right here. So I think I'll start with my pencil actually. And so now that we have that curved baseline, remember that these points right here are 1 inch from our the base of our collar stand. And so I'm going to continue on marking 1 inch along this curved line. So here's what I mean. So from that curved line, actually, and so I'm just going to go up by 1 inch. So now I'm going to connect all of these 1 inch lines together. And then I'm just going to create a straight line to connect these 2 points together to close this end off. And then, because this is like the center front of the collar stand, I'm going to create a curve just at this corner because I want a curved edge. And basically, the collar stand is done. I'm just going to mark 1 inch from this outer edge, and you'll see why in a minute. Now for the actual collar, I'm going to be coming up from this point by 1 inch, and I'm going to be doing that all the way to that midpoint that we marked at the beginning of all of this. So always keep note of where that midpoint is. So I'm going to do my 1 inch until I get to this point. And then I'm just going to kind of transfer that midpoint so I know where to stop. So this is the midpoint. So from that point, we're going to create a curved line and connect to this point right here, this 1 inch mark that we made. So we're connecting this point here to this point right here with a curved line, and then using a straight line to connect all these 1 inch points. And now I'm going to extend this line that we have here. I'm just going to extend it upwards. Then on the center back, starting at this line right here, I'm going to mark the height of my collar, and this is also up to you, but for me I'm doing 2 inches, so you can make yours slightly shorter. You can also go longer. And then I'm going to square that off here. And then I'm going to square that off on this line. I think I'm just going to mark the distance between the bottom of my paper and here, and then get exactly the same thing here, because I need a straight line from this point to that line. This is where it is, so then I'm going to extend my line a bit more. And then now I can connect this point to this point. And then to finish this off, I'm just going to extend this line just a little bit. And now you can, this depends on how pointy or how dramatic you want your neck, this depends on how dramatic or how pointy you want your collar to be. For me, I'm just going to be going with, I think I can do about 1 1/4 inches. So I'm just going to mark that at this point, and then I'm going to connect this new point to this point right here. And now that we're done with all that, I'm going to use my scissors, and then I'm going to cut this out. So you can see that we have our collar stand here. This strip right here is a collar stand, and then this is the collar. So I'm going to be cutting those 2 pieces out before transferring them onto the fabric. These are the 2 pieces that comprise of the full collar. We have the actual body of the collar, and then we have the collar stand. And I just wanted to show you also, I came up, you can see my actual line here, and then I came up just a tiny bit because I thought like maybe let me add a little more drama to the collar. But I just did it very, very, like you can see how minuscule that is. It might not make much of a difference, but yeah, just full disclosure. Anyway, let's cut this on our fabric.